very good evening to all of you. Welcome to The Burn with Mitch on 12 Ounce Sports. This is your host, Mitch Bernstein. I hope everybody's doing okay as we enter the end of the year. Thank goodness. Um, we are going to have a vaccine soon, and that's great. A lot of good sports going on, and that's great. And we've got a packed show, so welcome. Glad you're with me tonight here on Tuesday, December the 15th already. Packed show, like I said. A lot of things to get to. We're going to tell you about that right now. Four guests tonight. But before I do that, well, let me see. What do I want to do? I've got, let's do this. Let me introduce my guests, and we'll start there. 6:20. We have a very special guest, author Mitchell Nathanson. Mitchell is a very well-known author from the Philadelphia area here. And many years ago, he wrote a book about the iconic Philadelphia baseball legend and White Sox, but mostly Philadelphia legend Dick Allen, who unceremoniously passed away last week. Mitch wrote a book called God Almighty Himself, The Life and Legacy. So we are going to talk to Mitchell about that book, about Dick Allen's life and what his legacy basically is. So we're going to talk to him. I thought it was appropriate to try and get him on because of Dick's passing and the inability for him to get voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So we'll talk a bunch about that tonight with him. Next is our weekly guest to talk about Eagles. And speaking of the Eagles, last week I did a rendition of the song Hurt So Good. Well, I'm going to do another one right here. If you don't want to listen, close your ears. But I think this isn't bad. So here we go. Hurt so good. He really played like we thought he could. Won the game like we thought he should. Oh, Hurts was good. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. So we're going to talk to Brendan Deeg. Thank you for helping me with that song, folks. Allow me to do that. We're going to talk to Brendan. The Philadelphia Eagles won a football game, upset the New Orleans Saints, and quarterback controversy has begun here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the Philadelphia Eagles. So Brendan and I are going to talk a lot about that. What does it mean? A lot of positive, negatives. What does it mean around the NFL for Jalen Hurts doing what he did? And my prediction was wrong about how many more wins the Eagles would get. Who knew that they were going to beat the New Orleans Saints? I don't think they even knew they were going to beat the New Orleans Saints, but we're going to talk about that when Brendan comes on at 6:45 tonight. Following Brendan at 7:15, again, another big bunch of news out of the Philadelphia sports scene here as the Philadelphia Phillies hired the president of baseball operations, Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski has proved himself to be a winner with Florida and Boston. And I don't know that David Esser was that enthralled with his hiring. So I'm going to talk to David about that. I do remember a tweet, and I had a tweet back to him about one of the things that he said about Dombrowski. And I think what it was Dave Dombrowski has a history of depleting minor league systems. Well, those of you who do know about Philadelphia baseball currently, there really isn't much of a depletion to take place because there aren't many guys in the minor league system that he can give away. So we're going to talk about the hiring. What does it mean for the Phillies going forward? Dave Dombrowski on the radio station here in Philly said today, they asked him about signing JT, and he said, it's possible. We'd like to have him, but not sure that it can't or could take place. He's only been here a couple days, so hopefully he says a lot of people like JT. Well, who doesn't like JT? And we're gonna hope that we get to sign him, if anybody. And then finally at 7:35, I found Stacy, excuse me, Stacy Gatsoulias. She does a podcast about the New York Yankees called Locked On Yankees. It's at Locked On Yankees, and she's a cat lover. So when I saw that on her profile, I said, I got to talk to this woman. She might like the Yankees, but she's probably got a lot of good information about the Yankees. And DJ LeMahieu, and somebody brought up on Twitter the other day about Jason Dominguez, and wanted to know if he was that good. And I think the guy was talking about his baseball card, but I want to find out from Stacy what this prospect and what he looks like and what the possibility of DJ LeMahieu staying with the Yankees is. So Yankees fans out there, if you know people who are Yankees fans, get them on to listen so we can get some good because we're going to get some good information from Stacy. So that's the show for tonight. Got a couple of shout outs. One is my brother, my older brother, who turned 9 yesterday. Sorry, I didn't get that out. Did you hear that? He's older than I am. So happy birthday, Steve B. To those who developed the vaccine that is now out and about the United States, amazing that it's out there, and that hopefully at the end of this pandemic will take less time than we've dealt with it. Happy Hanukkah to those of you who celebrate Hanukkah, as I am, lighting the candles. And I really want to do a quick shout out to all of the artists that have been on the show during the year. And this may not be all of them, but these are the ones I found on my Twitter feed who I've messaged. If you're still looking for gifts for sports lovers, the following people you should take a listen, and if you can't get them all down, you can listen to the replay and get them, and we'll get them posted after the show. They have amazing art skills, and you'd be hard pressed to find any folks better, especially if you like sports and sports art. So here we go. Brian D. Oakes, Philly Word Art, Ebbett Sports Art, Blake Jameson, Lauren Taylor, Gypsy Oak, Greg Kindler, Anika Orak, who was on the show last week, Tim Williams, Card Mosaics, Margie Lawrence, Beauty of a Game, and NLB Art, which is Negro Leagues Baseball Art. A lot of additional artists have put some of their artwork on their website for folks to contribute. That will give the purchase price. Some of that will go directly to the Negro Leagues Museum, Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So if you could give those folks, just Google them, find them on Twitter. They're all on Twitter, and you won't be disappointed. I promise you that. I've seen all their work. It's just unique, and if I had the ability to purchase every one of these, I would. But we're going to encourage all of you out there listening to do that. So please support these folks. It's their own business. Some of them, it's their own part-time business. And anything we can do to support them will be appreciated. So what I want to do right now is take a quick break. Here are a couple of bits from our sponsors, Amazon and mybookie.ag, and we'll be back with you to talk a little bit before we get Mitchell Nathanson on. So we'll be back with you folks in just a couple of minutes.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, At MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done. We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. But challenges are what motivate us. Like flying masks to our employees around the world. We're doing everything we can to get you what you need, and doing everything we can to keep our people safe. I'm former Navy pilot Sarah Rhodes, and I'm proud to lead our Amazon Air network.
And welcome back, folks. Please support Amazon if you can, and MyBookie. Go there. Lots of things to do on MyBookie, like we've talked about before. Betting on as much as you want, sports-wise. Get to their website if you haven't, and do that. And also, one more thing. What I'd like to tell you is about Zingo TV. If you haven't been there yet, check it out. You will find 12-ounce sports on channel 761. And how do you get there? You get the app. You download the app onto your television. Click on it. Sign in using the code 120Z. And then you'll be able to listen to us for free. Lots of other stations on Zingo, but we are channel 761. You'll find me there right now, just audio. A lot of our other shows have video as well as the audio, obviously. I will be trying to make a transition to the video portion in the new year. I think it's important because at that point with my guests, you'll be able to see them too. And I know that when I go on Zoom or go on some webinars, obviously it's easier to see. It's more fun to see the person talking and interacting than just the voice. So look forward to that. Look forward to Zingo TV, getting that on your television, and hitting it up 12-ounce sports on channel 761. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about the NFL. How many of you watched that game last night? Wow. I was hoping for a Cleveland win. Why? Well, they haven't won in a while. And they got a good team. And the Ravens do too. And the quarterbacking was phenomenal. The offense was amazing, especially in that fourth quarter, where I thought for sure the Browns had pulled it off. And lo and behold, you give Lamar Jackson just a little bit of time, just like a Brady or a Rodgers or any veteran, and he got him into field goal range, and Justin Tucker kicked that 55-yarder with 2 seconds left, and they ended up winning that game. That was some fun football. And people might complain that there was no defense. Well, when you've got weapons like you do, and both teams did, it was just a fun game to watch. No skin in the game. Again, hoping for Cleveland, because I like the way Baker Mayfield uses his talents and skills, similar to what Jalen Hurts did this weekend for the Eagles. And Lamar Jackson, just an amazing talent. So really fun to watch. A lot of good young players in the NFL. We've only got 3 weeks to go, and there's a lot of spots open for playoff position. And it's going to be a fun last 3 weeks to see who is going to end up getting into the playoffs and where they're going to be, and obviously playing for the conference championships going through these playoff scenarios. So AFC East, you got Buffalo at 10-3, Miami's 8-5, Pittsburgh 11-2, two straight losses, kind of surprising, not playing the way they should be or could be. Of course, we talked about Pittsburgh not having a lot of competition throughout the season, and now they got injuries, and they're going to be getting a little bit more challenged the last 3 weeks. So we'll see what happens. If Cleveland could have won that game, it would have been put a little bit more pressure on the Steelers. And now you've got Pittsburgh at 11-2, Cleveland 9-4, and Baltimore 8-5. So there's someone may not make the playoffs. You're looking at Tennessee in the South, and Indianapolis tied with the same record, and then the Chiefs at 12-1, I guess, running away with the West. So if you look at what you got going, you got Buffalo. Let's assume they win the East. Pittsburgh wins the North. Just for the heck of it, you pick Tennessee to win the South, and KC, that's 4. Wild cards, you have right now Cleveland and Indianapolis in the hunt. Obviously, Miami, even Vegas is in the hunt right now. So it's going to be a fun 3 weeks to finish up the season. In the NFC, yes, the Eagles are still in it. We'll talk to Brendan at 6:45 about the scenario. Listen, the Eagles basically have to win out to have any kind of a chance. I don't think they're going to win in Arizona, so their chances will, in fact, go down the tubes. And the schedules are very interesting with Washington and New York and the Giants. So we'll go over those scenarios. So East, we don't know. Packers in the North without a problem. New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay could be a wild card. And then you got the West with the Rams and the Seahawks at 9-4 each. So you look at Green Bay at 10-3, New Orleans at 10-3. Let's just pick the Seahawks at 9-4, and then let's pick Washington at 6-7 right now. So that's your 4. 5 Tampa Bay, 6 Seattle, Arizona 7-6. Those right now would be your playoff teams. So going to be fun to watch. Love watching. Josh Allen with the Bills was phenomenal this weekend. Like I said, you got Roethlisberger not playing well, injuries, but veteran quarterback Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. You got Mahomes. Obviously Aaron Rodgers. Breeze is going to come back. You do have Brady, Goff, and Wilson. So bunch of quarterback talent to watch out for. So this is going to be a fun, like I said, really, really exciting last 2 weeks of the season. And then baseball, free agency, it's up in the air, and for most of the players that haven't signed, and there's a lot of them, probably going to be waiting until after the new year to get all these free agents signed. As for the Phillies, it's going to be interesting. Again, JT Realmuto is the key free agent that the Phillies want to. We need to have him signed by Dave Dombrowski. Didi Gregorius may not come back. We don't know who's playing center field, and then that bullpen. So we'll see what happens. The good thing, Dave Dombrowski says he wants a closer. Hopefully he's not looking at him, Hector Neris, to be a closer. I believe we have Mitch Nathanson coming on. Good evening, Mitch. How are you? I'm doing just fine. Happy holidays to you, sir. Thanks. Thank you very much. Hey, Mitch, thanks for coming on at such short notice. With all that's been going on with trying to get Dick Allen into the Hall of Fame and his passing, one thing I told Mark Carfagno was I really wanted to, wish I could have met him and just thanked him, Dick Allen. And obviously that's not happening right now. So I'm glad you're able to come on and talk to us about your book. So tell me. So the subtitle is God Almighty Himself. When did you write that, Mitch? Okay, so rather recently. It's a life and legacy of Dick Allen. So for those of us who we know, in a nutshell, what it was like for him playing here in Philadelphia. Um, what can you tell? Um, what can you tell us a little bit more about him that we don't already know? Well, okay, good question. Okay, hold on. We're having a hard time hearing you. I'm not sure why. Um, that's interesting. Hold on a second. Let's see. I'm not sure why it's not going through. Okay, you can hear my mic, but my daughter's saying that we can't. We're not picking you up on the. I know. Can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me. Um, that's interesting. Mitch, can you do me a favor? Can you call me back? Give me a call back and we'll see if this is something we can work out. Thanks. All right, folks, technical difficulties here. Um, I'm hoping that we can get him back, and things seem to be working on my side on my computer. But technical difficulties happen sometimes. I don't know why this is happening. So for some reason the desktop audio isn't working. But you could hear from the commercial side. Okay, let's see. Let's try it again. Okay, you there? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. The desktop audio isn't working. Not sure. Let's see. We want to. I'm going to try and figure what we can do here. I appreciate your patience here. I'm working on some things. This has never happened before. Mitch, what you might want to do. We might have to do this through my cell phone. My daughter's saying speaker. The speaker. Yeah, I'm clicking all sorts of things, and for some reason the desktop audio. Let's see. Yeah, the volume is already up. Mitch, let's do this. I'm going to have you call my cell phone, and I'll just put you through the microphone so people can hear you. All right? I've got your number right here. Let me give you a call and see if we can work this out this way. All right, thanks. I'll call you in just a second. Bye. All right, folks. I don't know really what's happening, so I'm going to give Mitchell a call and see what we can do here. Sorry about this. I apologize. So let me give him a call. And let's see if we can work it this way. Thank you for your patience again. I don't like when these things happen. But it's real.
Hello?
Mitch, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Very good. I'm going to ask my daughter if she can hear you, and then we'll be all good.
Okay.
She is on and listening right now too. So hopefully we can. You're going through the microphone, so she should be all good now. Okay. So Mitch, yeah, Dick Allen had a hard life in Philadelphia. Tell me a little bit of what you found out about him when you were interviewing him for the book.
Well, actually, I didn't speak to him for the book. He wouldn't talk to me.
Oh, he wouldn't talk to you.
No, he talked to me after the book.
Yeah,
he wouldn't talk to me before the book.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just a very private guy, or he was a very private guy, and he had a very small circle of people that he trusted, and I don't think that circle ever got any bigger. I don't know. I don't know if that served him well in the long run. But I mean, he had a a short list of people that he trusted, and that list didn't seem to expand after about 1975. So yeah, he was just he was a hard guy to know. I mean, I spoke to a lot of people who claimed that they knew him, and then I would talk to them, and I realized they didn't know him all that much better than I knew him.
Right.
So yeah, it was an interesting dynamic. I mean, Mark Carfagno is one of those people who he would talk to. But that was a small group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he went through a lot of bad stuff here, and unwarranted, according to him. He did not endear himself, as I know, to the writers, and that was part of the problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a pecking order, which it seems absurd today. Yeah, I'm going to say this, and it's going to seem so crazy, but back when he was coming up and throughout the '60s, most of the writers got paid more than the players, except for like the superstars. Mm-hmm. I mean, other than the star players, the writers made more money, and they were around forever. So the writers, I think the beat writer for the Enquirer was Alan Lewis at the time. He was there since like World War II, and he was there through like the '70s. And so these guys were around forever, and the players, for the most part, came and went. And this is pre-free agency; they came and went.
Right.
And so, they didn't like to be told what to do. They didn't like it when a player wouldn't talk to them. And so I think that there was a lot of animosity when Alan, just even as a rookie, didn't adhere to that structure, because even as a rookie, Alan was a star. I mean, Alan was the star as a rookie. The only guy on that team who would maybe be a bigger star would be Bunning, right?
Right.
But other than him, Alan was the star, and so everybody wanted to talk to Alan, and so Alan was able to. I mean, he did talk to the press. It wasn't like he didn't talk to the press. He didn't stop talking to people until about '67. Just wouldn't always say what they wanted him to say. I mean, these guys really. There were some great. But there were also a bunch of guys who. They had their story written before they talked to the players, and they wanted the players to fill in the blanks. And Alan was not a guy who was going to do that, and that just didn't go over. And I'm not talking about guys like Stan Hockman.
Right, right.
There were some really great writers, or were, in the city. If you read those, go back and look at those papers, particularly the Daily News at that era. Right. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the other writers who just, they wanted to. They went to the game. They wanted to file their story when the game was over, and they didn't like it.
He ended up not wanting to play here after a while. I mean, it just. But Mitch, you took the book obviously through all his entire playing career. Did this happen when he went to Chicago?
Yeah, it happened everywhere.
Okay.
It was. So, I mean, I know that people want to make the story to be like, it's a Philly story, and Philly people or Philly writers or Philly fans or this. It was true everywhere. And I mean, the fact that he went from Philadelphia to St. Louis, I mean, if anyone is under the mistaken impression that St. Louis fans are more racially tolerant than Philadelphia fans, I got, a bridge in Brooklyn, I could tell you. That's just ridiculous. And so it's not endemic to Philadelphia. It really isn't. There was an element in Philadelphia, as there are everywhere, and were everywhere, that was always going to be hostile to him. The problem was that, it didn't seem as if there was anybody pushing back and saying this is unacceptable. By the way, if you want to see that right now, this is what it's like with Trump supporters. It's the exact same thing. These people were always there.
Yes.
It's just that they didn't feel free to let their racist, obnoxious flag fly, but now they are, and so you see it. And that's sort of the same thing, That it's sort of the same thing. It was just they felt unencumbered. They didn't feel there were going to be any consequences, and so the more it happened, the more it was going to happen again, because there wasn't anything there were no negative consequences for them.
Right. Right.
Again, like I said, it's not a story of the '60s. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And it's funny. I read one of the chapters of the book tonight, this afternoon, and he, one of the stories was before he left. I forget where it was. I think it was in Florida, and you'll correct me. He promised somebody to get him a baseball, and he was on his way out, and he remembered. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning and nobody was there. He climbed a fence, got over the fence, got a ball, and left it for this guy.
Oh yeah, that was he was actually a coach
right.
with the Rangers at that point.
Yeah,
that was so he had actually retired by that point, and he was just a spring training instructor.
Right.
And so he promised one of the people who worked at the stadium a ball, and so he climbed back over the fence because he forgot that he promised the kid the ball.
Right. So did people know about? I mean, listen. Again, this is a lot later than his playing career. So he got caught in a nasty situation, racism. People weren't ready for him, and he basically was kind of allowing it to happen because of the perception of him and his attitude. But yet here he is, many years later, doing something that people wouldn't think he could be able to do, which was a small little task, but he endeared himself to that person, and he kept his word. Did any of that good stuff ever come out at some point?
I mean, you would see it here and there, but people didn't really focus on that. I mean, if you go back and you read those columns, the Hockman columns, and even Bill Conlon and those guys, that stuff would be in there. I mean, little things.
Yeah.
But the narrative that people were interested in was this narrative of Alan as a rebel and Alan as a guy who doesn't follow the rules and he wants his own rules, and that sells more papers than the story that you related. Although they did show up, you did see those stories here and there, and they weren't big stories,
right?
But if you talk to people who knew him, who were around him, they all had stories like that. It was a pretty common thing. I mean, he was not a guy who sought the spotlight, and
right.
A lot of stuff that he did, he would never tell anybody about because he didn't want to. He thought the press was a nuisance anyway. He wasn't going to go run into the press and say, "Hey, I got a kid a ball." He certainly wasn't going to do that. So you wouldn't hear about a lot of it. But again, it did show up. And again, if you talk to the people who knew him and who actually spent time with him, he was a very good guy to them. He could be mercurial and he could have his moods.
Right.
But he was generally a good guy, and he was an honest guy. He would tell you what was on his mind. The thing I came to the conclusion when I was doing this research and talking to people and just reading up and all that, going through old, papers and records and stuff, was that Alan would tell you his truth whenever you asked him. The problem was that his truth on Monday could be different than his truth on Tuesday. Oh. And his truth at 3 p.m. on Tuesday would be different than his truth at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. And I don't think that he was calculating. I think that he was just, you asked him a question, he would give you the answer as he felt it at that
time,
and that could change, and that frustrated the hell out of journalists.
Right.
Cause at one point I went through, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the incident. He was late for a game or something. I can't remember. But he gave an explanation as to why he was late or something like that. And I compared, since I had all the there was a lot of papers back then.
Yes, a lot of paper. That's all you had, right?
So I went through as many as I could find, because he spoke to all these different reporters at different times in the locker room on the same day and explained what happened. And I had all the articles, and each one had a different, they were all quoting him, but they all had a different quote. It's like he had a different explanation for where he was. I mean, there's about 5 or 6 different explanations, and this is in the course of, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I think that would drive people crazy.
Yeah, because one person would say one thing, hey, did you get this from Alan? Or, wait, that's not what he said to me. So he basically confused, it sounds like he confused the heck out of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at some point he was playing with them. I mean, I know he did do that. He would do that. He did that with Ralph Bernstein, I think, who used to be, he was an AP writer based in Philly. He was, Ralph Bernstein was a good reporter. He would always be nosing around. And I think Alan, just to mess with him once, told Bernstein, hey, I got a scoop for you, because he knew that Bernstein would fall for it. Right. And he said, I'm gonna hit left-handed this year. I'm going to switch hit this year. I've been working at it on the off season. I'm going to switch hit. And then he went in for when it was his. This was in Florida. He was in Clearwater. Yeah. And then when they went in for BP, he took some swings left-handed, and he could hit left-handed. And so Ralph Bernstein went. He thought he had a scoop.
Yep.
And Bernstein wasn't going to tell anybody else because he wanted to keep the scoop to himself. And he ran upstairs, and he typed the story out, and he sent it off, and he came down, and Alan was laughing at him because he just sent the story off, and all the other reporters at that point had heard about it. And,
yeah.
Alan just yanking your chain there. But
gotcha, buddy.
Left-handed.
Yeah, and that's and I guess back in the day, like you said, it seems like they were just. Like in baseball, the unwritten rule, right? And the unwritten rule there was, reporters came to you and they were expected to give him the straight dish.
And by the way, when he got to L.A., he did the exact same thing. For the reporter there, he told him the exact same thing, and the reporter wrote it, and then he had to eat crow the next day.
And he didn't endear himself to those reporters, I'm guessing, because he was messing with them. Yeah, I mean,
but but the way he looked at it was like, these guys are can be like vultures.
Yes. But he never said that. Did he ever say that to them though? You guys are really a pain in my ass, and whatever.
Well, the thing about Alan was, if you wanted to really understand him, you had to look at the black press, not the white press. Like, he would talk to writers in the black press much differently than when you go and you look through the black papers. He wanted to know how I got all this information, and I said to him, a lot more than you think you did. It's just that he didn't speak a lot in fact he did sometimes, but he didn't speak that much in the white press. But in the black press, there was a lot of stuff. He was covered very closely, not all the time positively, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
There was a couple of writers in particular. I can't remember the guy's name. One guy in particular who I focused on a little bit in the book really did not like Allen, and so I had walked into this project thinking, well, I'm going to see it's going to be white press and versus black press and stuff like that. That's not what I found. He had as many critics in the black press as he had in the white press, and he had as many supporters in the white press as he had in the black press. So it didn't break down racially at all.
Wow.
I think it broke in the black press. It broke down more in terms of there were the sort of the Martin Luther King style integrationists, and then there was the Malcolm X.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of a first generation, second generation integration kind of Jackie Robinson, obviously, but they felt that players like Allen were going to undo everything that Robinson accomplished. But a lot of the younger black writers would push back and say, no, this is the next step. This is building upon that. And at some point, you got to fight for what you want. You just can't wait for, somebody to say, okay, like with Robinson,
Right.
You can't wait for somebody like Branch Rickey to come along.
Exactly. Right.
Because that happened already, and here's where we are.
Right.
And so you have to push for what you want, and so there was a big schism there during that time, and it all played out through their coverage of Allen.
Gotcha. Two real quick things to finish up. The title of the book. Where'd that come from?
Well, that's a quote not from Allen. That's a quote about Allen by George Myatt, who was a longtime coach for the Phillies. Who, after Allen's sit-down strike in '69, their manager was Bob Skinner, and Skinner quit after he came back from his sit-down strike. He refused to go to an exhibition game against Reading. And so Skinner quits. It was August of '69, and the Phillies are terrible by this point. And so Myatt is made interim manager, and he holds a press conference, and all anybody wants to talk about is Allen. And so one reporter said, "Do you think you can handle Richie Allen?" And Myatt's response was, "I don't believe God Almighty Himself could handle Richie Allen. So all I can do is try." And that's where that comes from.
Wow, pretty good. That's pretty good that you picked up on. That's awesome. One more thing. Unfortunately, these Hall of Fame guys decided to postpone, and for some reason couldn't do it by Zoom. He was getting in, don't you think?
Well, I would think, but they keep changing the makeup of those committees. So he got 11 out of 16. He needed 12 last time. I guess they could have a completely different committee and they'll vote differently. But I find it difficult to believe he won't get in at this point. But then again, stranger things have happened. I mean, one of the stranger things was that Harold Baines did get in. So, if Harold Baines can get in, that means that Dick Allen can stay out, I guess, right?
Who knows?
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. But, listen, the statistics bear it. We all know it. I also heard that, I think it was from Mark, that vote, was it 17? That 14. Somebody was supposed to show up who was I forget who it was, but he was an African, and he didn't show. And they brought somebody in that was white, and
Dave Dombrowski, by the way, the Phillies' new GM.
It was Dave Dombrowski. Oh man! Oh, I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna start something here, Mitch. And so we don't know if it was, who knows, behind closed doors. And maybe this is why these guys want to do it behind closed doors. Who the heck knows? But it's just a shame because we know what was happening this year with what Mark was doing. And listen, those of us who remembered watching him play, and you've heard all about it. I mean, he's just without a doubt a Hall of Famer, and there was just no reason. Well, we don't know why he didn't get in, but at least he should have been in, and he should have been in by now. And it's unfortunate that we will have to get it posthumously.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with Ron Santo also.
Yeah,
they put it off, and then he died, and then he gets in, which doesn't do him any good.
No, or the family, yes, to a degree, but sure would have been nice to have him
It would
around.
have been nicer if he could have been there.
Absolutely. I mean, I watched this. Did you? Were you either there or watched the ceremony when they retired his number at the ballpark this summer?
I saw it. Yeah. I wasn't there, but
I mean, he was so gracious, and so thankful. And again, I read in the book, the chapter that he seemed a bit more humble as he got older, and that he just wanted to be. And he says it's not just me; it's about the team. So, he kind of knew what was going on, and I think in the younger years, it just sounds like he was playing games a little bit, but he was also being treated improperly. And who wouldn't take offense to what was going on? So then you get a little bit of a hardened personality and say, I don't need to deal with this crap, So you're really hard to blame him for being the way he was to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to cast aspersions on him unless you as well had found yourself in a similar situation.
Yeah.
So, it's very tough to sit here and criticize this guy for being upset over all that went on around him, which he, for the most part, had nothing to do with.
Right.
Until they all made it about him, and then it was all about him.
Right, exactly.
But
yeah,
it didn't start off being about him at all. And I think the thing that got him angry was that he had nothing to do with a lot of this stuff. This racial, the anger, the racial hostility that was being directed towards him. He never said anything, and he just wanted to play ball.
Right.
And there was an element who didn't want him to succeed, or they were going to blame him for everything, and at some point that grates on you.
It does. It's got to. You just can't help that it won't. It's such a shame. Well, listen, thank you for writing the book. I think I read the epilogue because I wanted to see it. Well, one of the chapters. I forget which one it was. Because I wanted to get some information, and then I've got it on my Nook, and the book, folks, is called God Almighty Himself. By Mitchell Nathanson. Pick it up for yourself, if you're a Dick Allen fan. It gives you a good insight to what that man was all about. And Mitch, thank you for coming on in such short notice. I really appreciate it. And this amazing knowledge without interviewing the guy. That's tremendous.
It turned out okay. It worked out well, and thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mitch. Take care. Again, happy holidays and stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, thanks to Mitchell Nathanson for coming on. That was great. I can't wait to finish the book. I read one chapter because I wanted to get some basic information before Mitch came on. But again, another author who is very talented, who you should check up on if you're interested in learning more about Dick Allen, who will hopefully get inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame posthumously next year. All right, switching gears, Brendan will be giving my cell phone a call in just a minute or two. Something to talk about that's not a loss for the Eagles. Wow. I've got some questions for him, so I've got to get myself organized here before he calls. So the Eagles won a football game. Go figure. Very, very well-played game, except towards the end when Jalen Hurts, you thought it would be a little easy, and then it didn't quite happen. But they ended up pulling it out. Jalen Hurts fumbled with about 1:40 to go, giving the Saints an opportunity to come back and tie the game. Didn't happen, and So we're going to talk to Brendan a little bit about the play calling. Jalen Hurts ran 18 times. We don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Brendan knows how many of those were called runs. But it's going to be interesting to see what Brendan has to say about the game plan. The offense did well. The defense had turnovers. They hadn't had those in like years. Hello, Brendan.
What's going on, Mitch?
Brendan, how are you? They won the game.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I can't remember the last time we were talking after a win. It's been like over a month.
It's been a long time. My God. Oh, my goodness. So, Brendan, Jalen Hurts, the new quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you think?
I think the biggest thing I took from it is he was so calm. He was very calm. He was cool as a cucumber. It was refreshing to see. Like I think I said this on your show before. When you watch Carson Wentz play the first 13, 14 weeks of the season, you can see like the gears turning in his head. Like you could see him very uncomfortable, very just non-decisive. And Jalen Hurts was the complete opposite of that. He was very calm. He was very cool. He was very collected. He knew where he was going with the football. If he didn't, he got out and threw it away, or he got out of the pocket and ran. That was very good to see. I was very impressed with him. But of course, like he was 17 to 30. Like it wasn't like he like blew up the stat sheet or anything. But another thing is too is he's a legit runner. Like he's one of the better running quarterbacks probably like right now he's in the league, maybe behind Lamar Jackson. Like he's not, you can see how talented he is at getting out of the pocket and running. So that provides a part of the Eagles offense that they haven't had this year. They've been kind of stuck on the opposite side of the ball, and now Hurt provides like kind of this new weapon. Well, no, it was impressive. You're like 22 years old, your first year to start. You just beat the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in watching it. And I didn't take any notes this game. I said to my wife, I said, I'm not taking notes. I just want to see what this guy was like and what he plays like. And you really, and here's the thing, when you're looking, for me, on my perspective and taking the notes, it was always, I was going in with a negative attitude to bash because you were looking for it and you found it, unfortunately. When I just was able to watch Jalen Hurts play and run that offense, like you said, it was smooth. He seemed to have, like all good football players who are on the offense, running backs, quarterbacks alike, a better vision for the entire field. So he knew when he could get that first down. He knew that he could get to that marker when he needed to. Running well, and the other thing was, he was very accurate with his throws. It seemed like he knew what he was doing. And so the question that it bears out is, what kind of plays has Dougie been calling? And you and I have been bashing him all season. And did he play those things up more for Jalen? Or was, as the rumors have it here, maybe Wentz was changing the plays at the line for him and not. So what do you think happened?
Interesting theory here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most interesting theory that was kind of brought out this week that I noticed is maybe the offense that Carson was running was his offense. Like it was Carson Wentz telling Doug what to call and what to do, and maybe Carson had more control over the offense than everyone else thinks. Like that's a theory, and it does make a little bit of sense. Think about it this way: like Doug would have changed plays by now for him, and nothing was different. So maybe, it was just on him. Maybe it was just on Carson calling these certain plays. It was his offense basically. And when there's a backup quarterback in, it becomes more on the coach to kind of get the play calls kind of tailored to your backup quarterback and help him out. And this isn't a coincidence that Doug Pearson is 11-2 with a backup quarterback.
I was going to bring that up. Yep.
Yeah, like that's not a coincidence in my opinion. Like he's clearly calling and coaching, and the team is playing a better game in general when there's a backup quarterback in. And this is like becoming a trend, and it's not a good trend if you're a Carson Wentz fan or if you're just a fan of the Eagles like with organization in general, because they've invested so much in this guy. And look, like this was clearly maybe the best offensive game they've had this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the second half of the Steelers game they played pretty well, but they just couldn't finish it off. And there were some spurts in the Baltimore Ravens game, and then the very first half of the game, the year against the Washington football team, that they played well. But like besides that, this offense has been terrible, and it was refreshing to see. Like again, this was Doug made some good play calls. Like you can tell that he dialed stuff up to Jalen Hurts. There was actually some stuff that Jalen Hurts was running in Oklahoma, that Lincoln Riley, the head coach there, that he was running that Doug Hurts. And everyone's kind of wondering, why have we done this with Carson?
Right.
And one of the theories is maybe they did. It was Carson's game plan. So that's what's wild for this whole thing. Like, there's so many more questions than answers after a big win against a 10-2 New Orleans team. There are more questions than answers going into it, that's been the Eagles season.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's true, except for the fact that we know who's playing this week against Arizona. So we know he's starting, but let's go back to this game again. So the offense ran well. He and Miles, I mean, was that an 82-yard run today? Was it 82?
Yeah. 82, 83, something like that. I
mean, just phenomenal. And it's so weird. It just seemed like, that was the big run, obviously. He and Boston, different styles. But I hate what the problem is with that is that they do too much of that up the middle to get 2 to 3 yards. I wish they would go more off tackle, but they did mix it up. Like you said, a couple of Jalen gets the ball, a couple of misdirection plays. They get a bunch of yards. They cleared out the sideline at one point, a couple of times, and had some nice long runs in the flat. Not quite screen passes, but just plays that allowed Miles Sanders to get out in the open and run the ball.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great to see him more involved. I would like the one thing that I think was maybe a little bit false, or what people kind of caught on this game, was that the Eagles just slashed them on the run, and I don't think that was true. They had the one big, I think again the Miles Sanders 84-yard run, but obviously that counts. But if you take away, and I hate that theory, if you take away that run, but if you do,
right,
you had 13 carries for 25 yards.
Well,
so it wasn't like he was amazing. But my point is I think a lot of the run game, Jalen Hurts was the best runner on the field. He was. That's what my biggest thing getting out of Jalen Hurts too is he is a legit runner. He is very good at running as a quarterback. He keeps his head up. He's knowledgeable when to get out of the pocket. He knows when to take off and get first downs. Jalen Hurts ran for 7 first downs or something like that in this game. He was a first down machine. And another thing too is he didn't take any negative plays.
No.
There was 0 sacks. This is my favorite side of the game. Jalen Hurts was pressured 14 times this game. That's a lot. So he was pressured quite a bit, and he gained 84 yards out of it.
On those pressures,
that's spectacular. On those 14 plays where he's pressured, the Eagles were positive 84 yards.
That's amazing.
Spectacular, right? Yeah, exactly. That's what the Eagles have been lacking. Anytime Carson Wentz has that pressure, any sort of pressure in face, he's been choking. He's been running into the back of his offensive guard. He's been running into his tackles. He's been just not skipping the pocket properly. That's what's been killing his team. Hurts completely flipped it the other way.
He did.
So, and the offensive line, to give them credit, they hung in there. They only allowed, I think Hurts only got hit once all game, and that was the Alshon Jeffrey touchdown pass. Yeah. He took a big hit there, but that was the only time he was hit all game, and of course that has a lot to do with Jalen Hurts' mobility. But I was very surprised. I watched, I was diving into his old college tape, even the stuff at Alabama. I didn't see his running. He was a lot better of a runner than I thought he was going to be.
Well, and so, did you watch the game last night?
I did. That was a great game.
Oh my gosh!
That was the game of the year. That was the best football game of the year.
I mean, it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Except I wasn't in bed until like 12:30.
Exactly.
I was a little sleepy today.
And I'm glad I didn't go to sleep because I was thinking Cleveland had the game. But my point there was, you saw what Baker Mayfield did with his feet, and obviously Lamar Jackson. This is the type that you have Aaron Rodgers, you have who has been able to, when he was younger, do the same thing, had good vision on the field, and he could get those first downs, get the yardage when he needed to. Brady never really. But the fact of the matter is, and if you run down the list of quarterbacks, young quarterbacks in this league, and it's always been a weapon. Going back to Fran Tarkenton with the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Giants, the scrambler, you just don't know how to prepare for this guy, because if there's nobody available to throw to, and he's got a lane, guess what? He's going to pick up a minimum of 5, and who knows, maybe more. So it's interesting to watch these young kids, these young quarterbacks play and use their feet, and that's a major part. And so what do the Eagles do next week? How do they game plan for Arizona on the offense?
Yeah, like it's going to be. You're probably going to see maybe you're going to see the playbook open up quite a bit more. Like they were very cautious with just dropping Jalen Hurts back to pass. Like I don't even know how many times they did it. Maybe like 5 or 10 times max, where it was just Jalen Hurts dropping back to throw. You know what I mean? Like there was always some sort of movement involved or something like that, which is what you need to do. But I wouldn't expect too much more of a crazier game plan. They'll probably again open up a little bit more, but that's legs. Like his legs, Jalen Hurts running the football is the best weapon the Eagles have right now. It was clear. Like Lamar Jackson, speaking of him, Jalen Hurts had the most rushing yards in his first career start since Lamar Jackson back in 2018.
Right.
Like that's how high up in like history books, I guess you could say. Like that's how good he was running the football, and I think they have to keep doing that. I don't know what to expect going forward here. Like this was obviously very positive. I guess you could say positive to see him play like this, but like this whole saga at the quarterback position, like this is still a mess. Like it's such a mess. No one knows what's going to happen with these two guys. Like Hurts and Wentz. Like the next 3 games are obviously going to dictate a lot. But like I have no idea what to expect. Like he's still, the way you have to look at it, he's still a second-round rookie. He's still a 22-year-old rookie quarterback. Those guys don't succeed in the NFL very often. When I was taking a look at like just second-round quarterbacks in the past like 10 years drafted, and it's not a very good list. You got guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, you got guys like Drew Lock, and that's the high end of it. You know what I mean? Like that's like the ceiling of it. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. The floor is like Christian Hackenberg, who was thinking about like there's these guys don't pan out very often in the NFL. You have like a 25 to 30% hit rate on a second round quarterback. So that's why expectations. I was tweeting it out earlier in the week. I said keep your expectations to a minimum, because like again we don't know what we're going to see. And of course it was very encouraging. And I'm already starting to kind of fall for the kid. Like I like his poise, like his presence. Like I like this kind of like the stability he brings to the quarterback position. But again, he's got flaws. Like you can tell his arm strength is a little bit of a problem. He got away. There should have been a pick 6 on that one play. The Saints, the quarterback jumped that one route. Like that could have been a big play in the game. And you can tell that he's a first-read quarterback right now. Like, he's not very good at reading progressions. Like, once his first read isn't there, he takes off and running, and that's fine right now. Like, he's a young kid. Like, that's okay, but that's not sustainable in the NFL. But again, like, I don't – it could go any way. I don't know what to predict for Jalen Hurts for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and the other thing, like I said earlier, was that he just seemed so accurate and so pinpoint with his throws. I mean, that one to Alshon, it was a back shoulder. Alshon turned around. He was in. It was just a different way. And like we said last week at the show, there were no expectations where we would go in with Wentz saying, okay, is this the week he's going to turn it around? High expectations, and he screwed it up. And then we're like, what the heck? But for this one, it was like, all right, let's see what the kid can do. So I'm thinking, well, the other thing we're not giving credit to is they got some. What happened to the defense? They got some interceptions.
Yeah, the defense played really well. Josh Sweat and Javon Hargrave, like they just took over.
Big
the
play
game.
there, huh? Big play.
Yeah, they were really impressive towards the end. Like Hargrave and Sweat, I think on that one, it was. I can't remember the exact score. The Eagles were only up by 3. The Saints were driving. It looked like they were kind of maybe like Eagles were going to blow the game, and then Sweat and Hargrave just took over.
Yeah.
Like I've been harping on Hargrave this entire year. I hated the contract. Like he's getting paid $13 million a year. He's
right.
not doing much, but the past 4 or 5 weeks he's been really good. The team he stepped in, and like Josh Sweat, like he had Josh Sweat at this one sack in the game where like he was going against Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead is one of the best offensive linemen, best tackles in the NFL. This is no slouch of a tackle, and then it was a man sack. Like Sweat, like just bowled over Armstead and went and got Hill. Like it was an NFL like big boy sack.
Yeah.
So it's good to see like Josh Sweat's only like 23 years old. So that's exciting too. Eagles fans, that he looks like a legit. He could be a good pass rusher for them. Like down the stretch in the next few years, but yeah, the defense was rock solid. And there's another thing about Hurts too, and this is something that everyone is noticing. Like it's not just me. Like every person who knows football can tell that the team plays better without Carson Wentz on the field.
Yeah, it's
they're playing harder with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
and you have to kind of acknowledge that, like that they played better against Green Bay with him off the field. They played better last game than they have all year. Like this is a trend. They played really well and hard for Nick Foles too in many scenarios, right? So this is
going to be interesting, you know. Yeah. So the scenarios for next year. So let's say Hurts, they lose against Arizona, and you know that means they're probably they won't win the division. But he plays well against Washington and Dallas. Okay. So they go in, and again, knowing the contract with Wentz, you know, could there be a competition in training camp next year where Wentz and he vie for that quarterback starting position? And if Jalen Hurts, is there a possibility that Wentz is the backup quarterback at the beginning of the year next year? Because they're not going to get rid of the contract.
It's crazy to think. Like, that's what's crazy about this whole thing. Like how everyone's been drafting Jalen Hurts, it just created this whole debacle. Like I'm thinking about today, the best possible scenario for the Jalen Hurts draft pick was that he never saw the field.
Yeah,
because
right.
if he never saw the field, that means Carson Wentz was playing very great. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That was the best possible outcome of the Jalen Hurts draft pick, that he never saw the field. That meant the starting quarterback Carson Wentz was playing great, and they don't need him. Now they need him, and he didn't. So now what? There's so many different scenarios here. Like, let's say Hurts rallies up 3 wins here and they make the playoffs, and that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Like, I was taking a look at Washington's schedule coming up, and the Giants' schedule. Washington plays Seattle next week.
Right.
Washington's coming up 2 big wins. They're probably due for maybe a little bit of a deflation here. Seattle's fighting for their lives in the NFC West. They need a win. Like, this is a game Seattle needs. It's not like they're done in any sort of stretch. So Washington could lose that game. Eagles go 3-0. They win the division. Right?
Yep.
And again, 3-0 with Jalen Hurts is probably not going to happen, but it could happen. We don't know it. We don't know what we're still getting from the kid. But if he played like he did last week, if he doesn't turn over the ball, and he just kind of be like a stable game manager, is able to get in the pocket and get some yards running the ball and just make the plays when they're there to be made, and the defense plays great. Like, they just beat the best team in the NFC. Why can't they beat Arizona, Dallas, and Washington, right? So,
yeah.
Like, there's so many different outcomes that could happen. I will say this. I have a very, 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 very hard time believing that Carson Wentz is going to want to come back to Philadelphia if he thinks there's any chance that he could be a backup.
Yeah. I mean,
like, I have Wentz has got a little bit of ego, attitude, kind of cockiness to him, maybe a little bit, right? I don't think he's going to want to come here with Jalen Hurts. Like, let's say Hurts plays good, right, and there's any chance that Wentz can be back up. Wentz is probably requesting a trade, and I think the most likely scenario as of today is that Carson Wentz is not on the Philadelphia Eagles in 2021, and I hate to say it.
Yeah, and you know they always there's talk here about, again, you got a big cap hit, but is he better off if in fact he ends up not starting and realizing it next year, that he goes with Frank back over to Frank Reich and they trade quarterbacks?
Yeah, and it's not like Wentz's contract's untradeable. Like if you take a look at it, they could easily a team with cap space. And what you'll need to find a partner, a team with cap space, and a team that believes in Carson Wentz. Because a quarterback like Carson Wentz, after how bad he's played, is going to take a lot. Like you're only like, why would we trade for him? He was just the worst quarterback in the NFL, right? So you're going to need a coach or an owner or a team to kind of fall in love with the idea of fixing him. Like, I hate to say it, but like it just seems like a match made in heaven. And look, like I don't know, and I don't know what I don't know what Jeffrey Lurie's thinking. Like I have no idea what's going inside his mind. And a lot of it's going to depend on what happens with Howie and Doug. Like, what are they going to do? Like, what if the Eagles win 3 in a row and they're out of the playoffs and they host a playoff game, right? Like, does that change Lurie's mind? 100% it will. You know what I mean? Like,
of course it will.
Like, so there's so many different possible outcomes to what happens in 2021, but that's the big question. Everyone wants to know. That was like the first thing I thought of when they won. I'm like, hey, now what? Like, now what does that mean for next year, right? So it's baffling that it's all come down to this. The season's been a gong show.
It is, but it's entertaining now, so we're enjoying the time. And, you know, we're sports fans, so we get to just have all these different thoughts in our heads, these different scenarios. Is it going to happen? What's going to happen? That's what makes it fun. We get to talk about it, which is great, right?
Of course.
It's,
I was saying I said to my mom yesterday, I'm like, the Eagles are 4-8-1, and they were the #1 lead story on ESPN.
Right, exactly.
It's like, shouldn't they be talking about the good teams? Like, the Eagles just always seem to be in the middle of drama.
They do. All right, listen. Here's the deal. Next week, I am out of town. So, I will wish you a Merry Christmas. And I'm hoping, are you going to be available on the 29th?
I will, of course.
Okay. All right, so we'll catch up on the 29th. I think I'll have you come back on the 29th. I originally wasn't going to do a show, but I want to get, by that time, you got one game left. So yep. I want to definitely get your take. So, all right, thank you, sir, again, friend. Always good to talk to you, get your take. It's always fun. Wishing you and your family a Merry Christmas and happy, and I will talk to you before the New Year on the 29th.
Yep, thanks, Mitch, again, and you and your family have a great Christmas.
Thanks, appreciate it, Brendan. Take care.
Everyone else has left the call.
Okay, so yeah, it's just fun to talk. Like whatever the subject matter, we love sports. That's why we're here, and we can have our own thoughts and theories. You don't know what's going on in those back rooms in the NovaCare complex for the Eagles, or everywhere every other professional team practices and their offices are. Man, that's what we like to do. So it's fun. So it'll be interesting to see you this week. What Jalen's going to bring to that offense, and a lot of scoreboard watching going on, which is always fun because the Eagles have a chance. And like I said before, with all the tight races going on in the NFL, it's just always fun to watch the scoreboards. And even though I'm out of my fantasy league, thank you very much, 12 Ounce Sports guys. I appreciate that, coming in 7th place and missing the playoffs. I'm still in my last fan standing pool with somebody, and I'm hopefully to win that one where there's 2 of us left. So I'm hoping that I can, in these last 3 weeks, hang on and no upsets with my team, and we'll see how that goes. So that's another part of football that's fun. And we're going to change paths and get to talking about baseball and the Phillies' hire of Dave Dombrowski in just a few minutes with David Esser. David will be on in just a minute. I'm going to ask him about his initial thoughts about the hire. David is the expert editor for at Section 215. He's a lead Sixers writer, so we'll get him on during basketball season at Philadelphia SN. And he's featured on Bleacher Report and the Phillies podcast, Bullpen Blues Pod. So you can catch David there. He pretty much does it all with basketball and baseball. So he'll be giving me a call on my cell phone. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to my computer and what's going on. We'll have to fix that before the 29th. We'll take a look at that at some point. But I appreciate all of you being flexible, and hopefully the sound is okay. And we're going to talk to David through my cell phone, and then Stacy Gatsulias, Yankees podcaster and a cat lover, coming up at 7:35. So we're getting ready for David to give us a call, and we'll talk a little baseball, specifically Phillies, and we'll see what he has to say. I believe that's him right now. Hello, David.
Hey, Mitch, how's it going, man?
Good, David. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. So, David, we have a new president of baseball operations with the Phillies. What are your thoughts?
Heck yeah, we do. It's first of all, it's exciting just to have someone running the team.
No
not
kidding.
Who's not Matt Klentak, someone with a plan. And my biggest fear heading into the offseason was that they weren't going to hire anybody.
Yes.
Dombrowski was not the first guy I wanted them to look at. He probably wouldn't have even made my top 5. But, he's Dombrowski. He's won multiple rings. He's elevated organizations. He's wildly respected around baseball. So there's pros and cons to him, which I'm sure we'll get into. But, the biggest pro is he's won 2 World Series.
Yes.
He's taken multiple teams to the postseason. He has a reputation of winning games as soon as possible. He's not afraid to make the big move. So for the most part, it's in terms of the next 2-3 years, it's hard not to feel a little bit excited.
Right. And I weren't you, though, I'm going to challenge you on this, Dave. Weren't you, in your initial reaction on Twitter, wasn't very positive?
It was extremely negative. And
there you go. I knew it. I knew I was going to get you on that.
I saw it. I was at the grocery store when I saw the news, and I let out an audible ugh because I was frustrated.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm going to stand behind that take a little bit because
okay.
I felt there were better, more innovative front office guys who could have made this team a 10, 20-year juggernaut, draft and develop, signing the hidden gems, fleecing teams in trades. That's not Dombrowski. He's going to come in, he's going to gut this team, and that's just how it's going to be. He's going to leave and do his Nashville thing in 4 years once his contract is up. He does not care about the Phillies long term, which as someone who intends to follow the team, for the next couple of decades, that's scary. That's frustrating. You saw how he left the Tigers, how he left the Marlins, how he left Boston, where they had to go trade Mookie Betts because they were in such a bad spot. That's all still there. I don't want to downsell the point that he has a reputation of ruining clubs upon his departure. With that said, would I trade another 10 years of mediocrity for a World Series?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did get your take right. Okay. But my comment to you was, I think you got a lot of these, but there is no minor league to decimate. So the only way to go with this team, with that group, is up. Now, who is going to be? Is he going to be in charge of the scouting department and who's evaluating talent? Because that's, as you know, the biggest issue with this team is just like the Eagles. They've missed on so many draft picks, and we know that what he's gotten. But is he available? Is he able to help with the draft picks? So maybe before he leaves in 4 years, we have some suitable kids that can come up and play.
And my take on that is I'm kind of hoping he doesn't touch the drafting. We just recently hired Brian Barber, who's done a very good job the last 2 years specifically.
Okay.
Past that, it's been really, really bad. You look at the Mickey Moniak pick, that hasn't really worked out. The Cornelius Randolph pick, that hasn't really worked out. But in terms of Mick Abel, Bryson Stott, those are really exciting players. So my hope doing recently, because I felt in the last year specifically, they've been doing okay. Now, whether Dombrowski takes those fun prospects like an Abel, like a Stott, and decides to trade them, that's up in the air. But, my hope is that Dombrowski kind of focuses more on the free agents, focuses more on the trades, and just lets the farm system do its thing.
And they can do this with him without a GM, can't they? I mean, don't you think they can do this?
So he mentioned in his introductory press conference that he wasn't sure if he was going to hire a general manager or not yet. So that remains to be seen. No matter who he brings in, Dave's going to be the one making the final calls around here.
Did you say Gabe?
Dave Dombrowski.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you said Gabe. I said, wait a minute, what's Gabe doing? Yeah, Dave. No. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes me feel pretty good. I mean, I think, like I said, like we both know, he is an experienced guy. He knows what it takes. He's not. He knows the situation with this bullpen. He knows the situation with. He likes Eflin and Wheeler and Nola, which is great. And again, the biggest question is, and he doesn't know enough yet, or he knows and he's not saying, obviously, is Real Muto. I don't think he can go into this season. Now that McCann is gone, everybody was up in arms going, great. Now we don't have to deal with the Mets. But you still have the Nationals in this division. And, anybody who goes to a rival division opponent kills us. They hammer the crap out of us. So I don't want Real Muto going anywhere but another division if he goes.
The Nationals are still in the mix. The Blue Jays are still in the mix. It sounds like the Angels are still in the mix as well.
Okay.
And, one would think bringing in Dombrowski elevates the possibility of JT coming back.
Staying, right.
Dombrowski, again, he's known to spend money. That's what he does. So it's hard to imagine him not wanting JT back. But that circulates all the way back to, is John Middleton going to be the one to sign the check over to JT for $100+ million, which,
right.
That's tough.
And here's the thing. We haven't heard much and so far, and I'm sure it'll pick up after the new year. But I just think it would be smart to sign him. Now you have a catcher for however long he's going to be around. Best catcher in baseball. We all know that. And then you have 3 decent starters, right? You have an infield that, you got Alec Bohm and I don't know if you put Kingery back at second base. I don't know. Maybe you do. Do you bring back Freddie Galvis for shortstop? You won't have to pay him much. You got Harper and right. You got McCutcheon in left. You have 2 possibilities in center, which you could probably live with if you have a closer and a decent bullpen. Neris coming back, I was not happy with.
Yeah, Neris is an interesting one because I've been very public in my frustration with Hector Neris as well. He's not a closer. That's just not what he is.
He's not.
You can poke through the analytics and say he's a decent relief pitcher, which he is. He's a fine relief pitcher. But there's a certain level of mental fortitude that comes with closing down ball games that he doesn't have.
He does not have it. No, he's with that pitch, with that splitter, he was like Ryan Madson, right? Back in the day. He could be a decent setup guy for a shutdown closer. And that's what we had. And we had Ryan Madson and Brad Lidge. It was just phenomenal. So who do you think they want to... I mean, Brad Hand was the one guy I thought that they should look at in terms of the bullpen. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth because initially you would think that would be a priority, right? Go out, get one of the best, closing pitchers in the game, just fix that issue and build the bullpen around it.
Right.
And then Dombrowski said a similar thing where he likes using closers. He's very old school in the sense that he doesn't believe in a closer by committee.
Correct.
But then he kind of doubled down, and Joe Girardi said he wasn't sure how much money they're going to spend on the closer position. So I'm not sure yet. Trevor Rosenthal excites me a ton. I think he would make a lot of sense. Kirby Yates on a short-term deal would make a lot of sense. Liam Hendricks is obviously the super big name who's going to command quite a bit of money.
Money, yeah.
But I'm worried that they're going to penny pinch in that department and just kind of kick this can down to 2022, which they might do at a lot of different positions because they do have a handful of holes they have to fill.
Yep.
So I'm not holding my breath on some monster, closer edition.
Well, the thing is, if they do get Real Muto, that's gonna shut almost everything down. And again, this is where the guys who may not be your top 2 or 3 choices in the bullpen, where you need to do a little bit of homework and coaching to say, okay, we can do this. We're better. You got to be at least better than last year. I mean, you can't. And again, I love the fact that you have to have a closer these days. And watching David, did you watch the World Series and the playoffs? How many of these guys on every one of these teams threw 98, anywhere between 96 and 98 or 100, right? You need that guy. We don't have that guy. Where is that guy?
Yeah, and, Clenta Jack specifically made it sound like it's really hard to build a modern day bullpen. It's not. You just find guys who throw the ball hard. Whether it's 99 or 102. Like, if they're throwing hard fastballs, that's hard to hit late in ball games. Give me 2 to 3 guys who can do that, and this team makes the playoffs last year.
Yes. And if they mix up with they just need in that situation, all you need is either a changeup, some kind of breaking pitch, and you mix those up and you locate the ball, you're going to have a decent relief pitcher on your hand. And I don't know that. The other thing I liked about Dombrowski, like you just alluded to with the closer, is that he wants pitchers to go 7 innings, and that is something that's in essence old school. So I like the fact that he has some old school thoughts, which is smart, and he has to use the analytics because they paid a lot of money to develop that department. Positive until we find out who they're going to pick up, and what they're doing with the bullpen. The offense, the lineup. If these guys can hit, again, second base and shortstop, it's kind of an issue with Kingery. I'm okay with McCutchen and Harper. Center field. Does Hazley need time? Does he need more at bats and more experience in the outfield? I don't know that Roman Quinn is the best outfielder out there. I think Hazley is better than him, and he's a better hitter. So I would tend to go with Hazley. But I think to me, it's all revolves around the catcher.
Yeah, and speaking on the outfield real quick, Jackie Bradley Jr. had his name thrown out.
He is. I saw that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, as a guy who the Phillies have reached out.
Yes.
The Red Sox won the World Series in 2018, and that makes defense in the league last year combined with their league worst bullpen. So that's an area of need. And Jackie Bradley Jr., man, can he play some defense? So
yeah,
it fills an immediate hole. I don't know where that leaves Adam Hazley. I don't know where that leaves Mickey Moniak. But if you have an opportunity to bring in Jackie Bradley Jr. to be your center fielder for 140 games, that's a pretty easy decision.
It really is. Now, do you know how much he's getting paid? Did he get paid? You know what that number is?
I want to say his projected value is around $11 million. It's really hard for me to imagine him getting that much, just considering COVID and the revenue crashing around the league.
Mm-hmm.
His projected value on Spotrac is 11.2.
Okay.
He's not going to get that. He's going to get under 10, in my opinion, which is a pretty reasonable price to pay for. Yeah. The best defensive center fielder in baseball.
Yeah, I mean that would be very nice. And you're still thinking McCutchen in left?
Yeah, and I think they're going to try to start cutting down his games pretty seriously. I don't think he's going to be on the roster next year. I think that's a spot they want to see either Moniak or Hazley win in the near future. So I think we start to see less and less of McCutchen unless we get the designated hitter somehow this year, which seems unlikely.
Yeah, let's talk about that. All that rigmarole about, we're bringing a DH into the National League, and we all, they did it this year, and we fine, we buy into it, and then all of a sudden, no? Is that a players' union argument, or they just said, we just kind of did this for the hell of it?
Yeah, the MLB is such a disaster with these things. They have no idea how to handle it. Scott Boras was criticizing them today, which might spark some action because he gets stuff done. I don't know. Again, it feels unlikely. It might come back in 2022. Who knows? It's all a leverage tool. It's all a bargaining chip. But I know teams are frustrated that they don't know because that obviously, that changes up how you construct a roster if you have a designated hitter.
Correct. Going into a hopefully a non-COVID season, they're going to go back to 25, 26 man rosters, and they need to know who they need to put on their roster if they're going to do DH. So we think DH is not going to happen. Now, I did hear somebody, I think it was Destiny, said to me that she had heard that the players liked the batter in the 10th inning starting at second base. Well, I just hate that. To me it's fabricating excitement. It's like a circus. Have you heard any thoughts on that?
I know Joe Girardi said he was a fan of it, so whatever that's worth. I haven't heard anything on it. I know Rob Manfred as well said it was something he'd like to see continue.
I know.
I'm pretty indifferent. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Obviously, it changes how games are played, and you don't get those 16, 17-inning games anymore. Again, it's all going to be a bargaining chip, and whenever they redo the CBA, because COVID has just ruined everything. But I haven't heard anything specific in terms of what they plan to do with it moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, I just old style. Let's go to 17 innings. I'll sit in the ballpark. They won't fabricate the speeding up of the game. The problem is at the grassroots level, these kids aren't playing because of the way the world is these days. They want instant gratification, or you need to do more. And I don't know if we discussed this before or not. You need to do more with players being more accessible to kids, so that they can get to meet their heroes, get autographs, because that's what's going to get them infused into the game. How you do that, I don't know. Well, you can easily. A lot of teams do it at the beginning of the games, but they've got to endear themselves to kids, and the kids then can get engaged in what an actual baseball game is about. So that's my thought on that.
Yeah, and that's a pretty broad conversation in terms of how to get people excited again, especially with some of the analytics driving certain portions of the fan base out there. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm pretty indifferent. If they want to keep it, go for it. If they don't, whatever. But just tell people so people know what to expect.
Right. People need to know what the heck is happening. The teams need to be able to again, sign these contracts. Maybe that's the reason why people aren't signing yet, is because part of the reason is because MLB hasn't made any decisions on what's going on for the 20. And maybe they don't. And unfortunately, maybe they don't even know, David, because okay, we're going to get the vaccine just started. We heard that possibly available to everybody beginning in April. So what does that do? I mean, listen, can they go without fans in spring training and in their April games? Probably. And even if they have to stretch it to May, but then you still can basically play a full season. Do they, again, obviously you're talking about traveling again. So, yeah, and it's hard to blame anybody because we really don't know. It's just hard.
Yeah, and again, I doubt the MLB does know because they're bad at handling stuff like this, and that goes all the way up to, the commissioner. So yeah. I doubt they know. They probably don't have a plan. Like I said, I think Scott Boras getting his name out there and getting involved is a good sign because he tends to spark conversation and push things in the right direction. But I feel like once they make that decision, you could start seeing the offseason pick up. Because then designated hitter-esque players would start getting contracts. Yeah,
I think you're right. Exactly. So my next guest, I don't know if you can't listen, that's fine. Stacey Gatsoulis. She is someone who's going to talk about the Yankees, and DJ LeMahieu. So we'll get her thoughts on what the Yankees are going to be doing. I haven't talked to a Yankee podcaster yet, so I'm looking forward to talking to her. So. You might stick around if you want and listen if you want. If you can't, David, no big deal. I won't hold it against you, my friend.
Yeah. The Sixers preseason game's about to start here in a second. So
that's right. Okay, never. I got you.
In the background.
Yeah, and Mark Zumoff isn't on because I'm going to try and get Mark on after the new year. He had some back surgery, so I look forward to talking to him. But he's going to be on the show at some point too. So yes, go. You need to go check your Sixers out, and I think they're going to have a good season.
I'm excited, man. I'm just grateful that basketball's back.
Yeah. Hey, David, listen, thanks for hopping on. So it's such short notice. I really appreciate it. Best to you and your family, your holidays. Have a happy new year. And again, thank you so much for all your insight. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, hey, likewise. It's always a pleasure talking to you, my man.
Thanks, Dave. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so we have some information about what not be doing. We'll talk to Stacy. She's coming up in just a second. Stacy is host of the Locked On Yankees podcast, and she is a cat lover. Well, anybody who likes cats is a friend of mine, so we're going to talk about that for a few seconds, and then we're going to get into the Yankees, and I want to get her thoughts on a couple of Yankee players, Jason Dominguez, DJ LeMahieu, try and get her thoughts on what she thinks about the DH, and here she is right now. Hi, Stacy.
Hi.
How are you? This is Mitch.
Good to speak to you.
Good to speak to you. How are the kid? How is that cute little kitten tonight? Oh my gosh.
It was actually just nursing while I was downstairs.
Oh my gosh, Stacy, you're killing me. We are cat lovers, and
yes.
Anytime you can post something like that, you wanted to see your video was, come on, we want to see your face, and all she would do was scream, "Let me out of here, Mom! Stop, Mom!
Yeah.
I'm camera shy. Leave me alone." Oh my gosh, Stacy, where'd you get that young thing?
Well, we have a feral mom that comes in and out. She's been in and out of our house for like 7 years, and we didn't even know she was pregnant. And I heard mewing under my bed, and I'm like, "Uh-oh."
Wow.
And we looked, and there was a day-old kitten. I'm like, "Oh,
Here we go again. Oh, and you have 7 others.
Yes.
My daughter is listening, Kelsey. This is a crazy cat lady. My daughter Kelsey works with me on the posting all my stuff for the show. Mm-hmm. She's a crazy cat lady too. We all are crazy cat people in this family. So that one of the reasons why Stacey reached out was because I saw that. I said, I got to get you on. Baseball and cats, I got to get you on. So thank you for doing that, for doing this. Appreciate it very much. So tell us about you have the Locked On Yankees podcast. How are the Yankees? What are your thoughts on the Yankees in 2020?
Well, I was disappointed in how the season ended. I wasn't surprised by how Game 5 played out. I could see it coming like a slow-motion car crash once Boone put Chapman in the 7th inning. I kind of pictured in my head, I'm like, I'm betting that Brousseau is going to hit either a walk-off home run or a go-ahead home run. And I was right.
Wow. Good job on your part.
Yeah. Sometimes my psychic abilities don't make me happy.
Yeah.
Yes. It was just such a strange season with it only being 60 games, worrying about COVID, having them not play in front of fans, and it was odd. It was an odd baseball season, and it seemed like the perfectly odd ending for the Yankees from scoring so much in the first few games to being shut down in that last game. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, listen, we all know it was weird. All of us baseball fanatics love going to the games. I was at the beginning of the season. I said it wasn't a real season. Then someone said, "Well, what if your Phillies won?" I said, "Well, yeah, of course I would be happy and stuff." But you look back at it, and yes, somebody was crowned the World Series champion. Okay, that's great. You look at the at bats, and can you really have a batting champion with so many at bats? And I don't know. It's just weird. I'm just a purist, and but that's done. And hopefully, I was just talking to David Esser, and we're talking about COVID and the new season coming up, and nobody knows what's going to happen at this stage of the game. The vaccine is here. He doesn't think really. You can't blame Manfred for not knowing what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts about? Somebody put up. Let me ask you this, and you may have seen this. I may have retweeted this to you. And I think they were talking more about his baseball card. But Jason Dominguez, he looks pretty good. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Is he?
Yes, I keep seeing videos of him. Not necessarily tall, but big. He's stocky for his age, and he looks like a much older player. I'm very cautious when it comes to prospects. I'm 46. I've seen a lot of failed prospects. I've seen a lot of hype, and I've seen a lot of failure, and I don't like to get too excited about Yankee prospects with the way they've been going the last, 3 decades. So, I mean, for every Derek Jeter, there's a Brian Taylor.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
so,
I got his baseball card thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, great.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah. But I would love for him to pan out. That would be great. I think it's adorable that his parents named him after Jason Giambi, and they just added that extra S in there. I think that's
funny.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. When I heard that story, I was like, oh, that's so sweet that they did that. I wonder if Giambi knows.
Yeah, I don't know that he would probably care the way I don't know. I just don't know that he would care. But I'm glad you qualified that for me because I was calling him for the longest time Jason. Anyway, I found out it was Jason, later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, listen, you're speaking to the choir here. You're preaching to the choir because my Phillies also don't have the greatest draft record. It's just so frustrating. So the Yankees have done it more with obviously trades and free agency.
Right.
What's going to happen? What do you think? Because we're talking about JT Realmuto, okay,
Right.
and the big free agent catcher. And the big talk in Yankeeville is DJ LeMahieu. What do you think? What are you hearing? What's going to happen? Do you know? Do you think? What do you think?
I'm slightly nervous just because there were reports that the Yankees and LeMahieu were $25 million apart. I'm afraid that Hank is going to may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Hal is
Hal.
going to pull his conservative businessman. We can't spend money off seasons minus last off season. I mean, honestly, I was shocked that they signed Garrett Cole. I really thought that they were going to drop the ball on that. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought he was going to make up an excuse for it and say, oh, we tried, but someone outbid us. And I say this all the time on my show. You're the New York Yankees. No one should be outbidding you for anyone.
Well, yeah. Historically, absolutely, that is so correct, right?
Like, what are you even saying? So I'm afraid that this offseason is going to be the typical Hal offseason where they'll let a guy go and claim, oh, well, I guess the other team offered him a little better. Again,
it's really interesting because again, we don't you don't know, and does COVID have something to do with it? I mean, our owner, unless you heard from your owner, COVID, and we don't think we're going to be able to sign JT. Well, wait a minute. Don't claim bankruptcy. You lost $175 million on a $2 billion franchise.
right.
Everybody else is in the same boat, buddy. What are you talking about?
Well, I said this on my show. If you root for a baseball team that doesn't spend money, you should be pissed because every owner in baseball can spend money. They just choose not to.
Well, yeah. I mean, exactly. Now, again, did the Yankees, Stace, did they get rid of a lot of folks working in the offices and stuff too, like they did here in Philly?
I believe they did furlough some people, yes.
Yeah, they furloughed
Yeah.
because a lot of people, 80 people in the Phillies offices, they're done, they're gone.
Right.
So I listen, it's affecting everybody. So everybody's in the same boat. Don't give me excuses. Just like you said, no one's going to make it. It's always though making the first move. Who's going to be the first free agent? Who's going to set the tone?
Right.
JT is a catcher, so it's a different. It's one unique position. He needs to sign the guy because he's the best catcher in baseball. And yes, maybe you don't sign anybody else. Okay, you need a bullpen. You need a closer. Do you have anybody that you could use? But you need the catcher. You can't go. Phillies can't go the season with Andrew Knapp as their number one catcher. It's just not going to fly. Who would be somebody? I mean, DJ would be the main guy for you to lose. That would be a problem, major issue.
But also, the Yankees, they haven't re-signed Masahiro Tanaka. Nothing's been. Probably letting James Paxton go, so you'll see them go to other teams. So right now the rotation is Garrett Cole.
That's it, huh? Wow.
That's always questionable because, he has a normal back from Tommy John.
Wow.
So, the Yankees have a lot to do, and as I said, I'm just afraid that they're going to, we'll work from the inside and we'll save.
I'm looking at your picture rotation. David Garcia, Michael King, Domingo Germain, and Luis. Any thoughts on the other guys that you've seen?
So, it'll be he'll be someone to watch in a full season in
Right.
2021
Okay.
if that happens.
Right.
Davy Garcia, he's a young kid. He got his first, let's not get me started on what they did to him in the playoffs. As for with that whole thing, and I mean, the Yankees do need a pitcher to plug in. Be him. I mean, what? And I think he has a 7.13 ERA in 16 innings,
Wow.
or something crazy like that, where he's pitched either 13 innings and given up 16 runs. It's something.
That's not good. That is not
No.
good. So what are your? So let's talk a philosophical issue here, like you just mentioned. You talked to a lot of people, and when they say Chapman, especially women in sports, they say, they don't even want to hear the name. Do you have the same feelings about that?
I was at the game when he debuted for the Yankees after he came back from his suspension in 2016, before they traded him to the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so disturbed by the way people were reacting to his return, because it was as if a rock star was doing like a reunion tour.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any sort of... me and my friend were just sitting there thinking to ourselves, I can't believe this. This is gross. Because it seemed like no one cared that he was out. The reason he was coming back in May was because of a suspension for domestic violence. And they were treating it as if he was coming back from an injury. And people were screaming silly things. One guy was like, I wish he'd beat me up. I mean, really?
What they don't
it's just
do...
uncomfortable.
What they don't
You're
do...
a Yankee fan, you want them to win, but then part of you wants Chapman to have someone hit a home run.
Yes.
It's very difficult.
It's hard. It is hard. I mean, that's what people, a lot of us are dealing with these days, especially with all these situations that have come out. How can you support a domestic abuser? I mean, it's just, there's one point at which he throws 100 miles an hour, but there's another point where you go, he's not a nice person.
Right. And even that's not even true anymore. He's like barely pitching 100 miles an hour. Now he needs to go to a slider.
You know what? That wouldn't hurt him. Let me tell you. I mean, listen. If he's throwing even if he's throwing 98, and he throws in an 89 mile an hour slider. I mean, that's a good mix of pitches.
And speaking of Chapman, Michael Kay, who does the Yankee games on Yes, and has his own radio show on ESPN, he suggested that the Yankees convert Chapman back into a starter.
What?
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Last 2 innings.
That's what I said. I said, did he watch any outings this season? I don't want that starting a baseball game.
No. Well, I'm looking at his age. I mean, how old? 88, 98, 08, he's 32 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's crazy.
I mean, not that that's ancient, but yes.
But no, there's no way. Up. So Sanchez catching.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Voigt, not bad, right? First base.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's better at hitting than he is at defense.
Yes.
But...
Okay. Got you there.
Like a lot of Yankee first basemen, we had Jason Giambi, who was like a statue at first base.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Although I did watch him in person complete a 3-6-3 double play, and I nearly fainted. And it was before YouTube and before cell phones with cameras, and I wish I could have videoed it because I didn't believe it was real.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
Yes.
Let's see. It's funny. I didn't obviously. I watch the Yankees a lot. You have
Right.
Tyler Wade or Tyro Estrada at second base.
Yeah, they're more backup, but
Okay.
this is what I'm worried about also, because the Yankees are talking about if they lose LeMahieu, they can move Gleyber Torres back to second base because he was having issues at shortstop last
right.
year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was having issues at shortstop last year because he was a little out of shape. He wasn't quite right when he came back from the long layover because of all the COVID stuff. I think if he shows up to spring training in shape the way he was in 2019, he'll be fine at shortstop. But again, I'm worried that the Yankees will do this whole, if we don't sign DJ LeMahieu, we can plug Tyler Wade in second base. And
Right.
Tyler Wade is not an everyday player. He's better as a pinch runner and better as a late defensive, replacement
Right.
later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He'll occasionally hit the ball, but if he's regularly out there, he doesn't do much. Same with, Estrada hasn't really, he's the one that got shot in the hip a couple of years ago, and he came back from that.
Okay.
And, outfield-wise, Aaron Hicks, Aaron Judge, don't want to see Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield. I want him as DH as much as possible.
Yeah.
I would like to see Clint Frazier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to bring back Brett Gardner on, a one-year deal.
Right.
Part of me wants them to, just because I feel bad that, Gardner's been a Yankee since 2008. He's been around this whole time, and it would kind of be a big bummer if his last season was not in front of any fans.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a...
But then again, he's, not that he's ancient, but I would much rather see Clint Frazier getting regular playing time over Brett Gardner.
Yeah, and Clint, let me look at Clint. Yeah, Clint's only 26, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you want the young guy in. Here's the thing. Oh, hold on 1 second. I've got to, unfortunately, plug in my computer because it's running low on juice. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Let me see here. So my question to you is this. Are Judge and Stanton going to stay healthy ever?
Oh, boy. I have no idea. I feel like Stanton will stay healthy if he's off the field and not running around. Because we saw what he could do in the playoffs when he's healthy. He was hitting the snot out of the ball.
Yes. They're such great players. They're monster hitters. It's a shame to not have them play so much. It's people want to see them. Everybody wants to see them.
Right.
Come up the plate.
Right. And it's just, I don't know. I joke about it on my podcast all the time because I'm constantly doing injury updates because, especially 2019, it was just ridiculous.
All the time.
30 guys on the IL.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad.
And how did they make the playoffs and win 103 games with that many people on the IL?
So here's my question. So let me go to this. People weren't in 2019 people bitching about Aaron Boone and the way he was managing at the beginning of the year. Am I right on that?
Yes.
And then look what he does, right? Look what they do.
Right. Well,
was that? All right, go ahead. Tell me.
The playoffs. I had a big problem with Game 2. They should have started Tanaka. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, putting Davy Garcia in for one inning and then putting Jay Happ in, who has voiced in the past that he does not like coming into a game. He likes to start the game. And he's told the Yankees this over and over again. What did they expect the outcome of that game to be when they did that? And I felt like they were trying to outraise the Rays while they were playing them, and that cost them the series. So I was very angry with that. In Game 5, putting Chapman in the 7th inning, as I said, it was like a slow-motion car wreck. I knew what was going to happen because the offense wasn't doing anything, and I figured he would be the one to give up the winning run, and I was right.
Yeah.
And also in Game 5, who did he bat? He batted Mike Ford instead of, I guess, was it Clint Frazier? And Mike Ford had one hit in a month in the previous month, and what are you doing? Why are you putting him in? And he swung feebly and did nothing, and it just,
And did Boone?
Some of the decisions just make me absolutely crazy sometimes.
Did Boone have a reason for that? Did he say in the press conference what was the reasoning for that?
Oh, I couldn't even watch the press conference. To be honest,
You're like
I was
me.
so angry.
You're like me. He gets so pissed off. It's like, screw it, I'm done. Turn off the freaking television.
Yeah, like you sit there and you're just like, you lost them the series by doing these stupid moves. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So
it's very frustrating. You know, people love Charlie Manuel here. I am not the biggest Charlie Manuel fan because of some of the moves he made, and he in 2008 was one of those things where I could have managed that team pretty much. Now they say he was he's a player's manager. They love playing for him, but they should have won in 2009. And the reason why they didn't, I believe, against the Yankee team was Charlie Manuel made terrible decisions, didn't play the way they should have played, and they ended up losing. So I hear where you're going. I hear what you're feeling. So it's going to be an interesting 2021. Stace, I might want to have you come back on when the season starts.
Sure.
As the rosters get finalized and we go into April and start, I'm going to put you down on my list to come back on again because you're a lot of fun, a lot of knowledge, and of course you'll have 10 cats by then.
Oh God, I hope not.
But I think you got so much knowledge, and we can talk some more in terms of more relevancy when baseball starts up again. Would you be able to do that?
Yes, of course.
Terrific. All right, Stacy, thank you very, very much for calling in, folks. You can find Stacy at Yankees Podcast, Locked On Yankees Podcast. Go look her up for mostly Yankees, but I'm sure you talk other stuff too.
Yes.
All right, Stacy, thank you for calling in. Thank you for taking the time. Have a phenomenal, safe, and happy holidays and New Year.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. Take care now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Well, she was great. Great to talk to. Easy to talk to, which is great. She knows her baseball. She knows her stuff. So, a lot of fun. So, that's it for me for now. Coming up right after me in about 3.5 minutes is Real Captain Lou on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports and Zingo TV channel 761. Lou is he's doing a lot of NHL talk tonight. At 9 o'clock, the Real Pete Tooch, Tucc, Philly Pete, is on, talking hockey, one of our hosts on 12 Ounce Sports. And then he's got, let me see, I got to look at Brennan at 9:30 at NHL Update. And I'm going to get the guy's name correct. I got to go find it. It's Brennan something. I need to find it. I'll do that in just a minute. And then he's talking college football playoffs and the college football conference championships and the Captain Lou 6-pack challenge is all coming up. And he's going to talk, Lou, about the latest goings on in the NFL. Probably talking about the game last night, I would imagine, because as I mentioned before, it was terrific. So let me get real quick who that is. NHL Update. Let's see. Brennan Clack, Klak, at NHL Update. We'll be on with Lou in about 2 minutes. So, friends, I want to thank you for listening to the Burn with Mitch, your host, Mitch Bernstein, on 12 Ounce Sports. Tonight and every night. Hoping to come back for the last show of the year on December 29th. Might not be a full show, but I do want to have Brendan will come on, and we'll see if I can get another guest come on for a short hour show, most likely. Thank you for your follows. Thank you for retweeting and tweeting out. Thank you for supporting the artists and authors I've mentioned who've been on the show this year. Just tremendous talents, and I feel privileged to be able to bring them to the show, and hopefully you will take advantage of what they have in their talents and enjoy what they do, whether it's writing or artwork. So thank you very, very much for being here. Have a Merry Christmas to those of you. I'll wish you a happy new year when I get back on the 29th. And everybody behave. Continue to wear your masks, please. Not already. And enjoy your holiday season, Christmas-wise, Hanukkah-wise, Kwanzaa, and whatever you celebrate. Hope it's safe and happy. We will talk to you, not next week, but on the 29th. Everybody take care now. Captain Lou is coming up. Have a great 2 weeks. Bye-bye.